Coming up on Cronkite News, we'll take a look to examine the effects of the Tulsa Massacre 100 years later. We'll look at how some are finding their connections to this historic event.
And later, many schools in Arizona will be providing free summer school programs to help students catch up. We will have the details.
And a little later on Break It Down, we hear from ASU President Dr. Michael Crow about what to expect next fall after the pandemic.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Sinead Hickey.
And I'm Peyton Watts. Thank you for joining us.
Today, President Joe Biden traveled to Oklahoma to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. While there, he announced new programs he hopes will lessen the wealth gap for Black communities. Camilla Bernal was in Tulsa for the speech and brings us the latest.
President Joe Biden in Greenwood.
This land where we stand now is considered sacred ground.
The visit and the photographs.
You can see Black-owned businesses lining the streets,
memorializing the hundreds of Black Americans who were killed by a white mob in this Tulsa, Oklahoma neighborhood.
100 years and the first president to be here during that entire time. And in this place, in this ground, to acknowledge the truth of what took place here.
The president hearing directly from 3 living survivors. And not only looking back.
Words were exchanged, then a scuffle, then a shots fired. Hell was unleashed. Literal hell was unleashed. Through the night and into the morning, the mob terrorized Greenwood, torches and guns, shooting at will.
But also outlining his administration's efforts to combat racial inequality.
We must find the courage to change the things we know we can change.
The White House focused on help for minority-owned businesses and addressing racial discrimination in the housing market. And while many are thankful, activists also say more is needed.
People are ready and able, and the system is there, but we got a long way to go.
I'm Camila Bernal reporting.
As we mark the 100th anniversary of this massacre, Cronkite News reporter Tina Giuliano spoke with an ASU professor who had a personal connection to this history.
100 years ago, violence flooded the streets of Tulsa, Oklahoma, after a Black shoe shiner was accused of assaulting a white elevator operator. Now, years later, people are finding their connection to the tragedy and remembering this piece of history. ASU professor Olga Davis learned early that there were some things her family didn't want to talk about, but her dissertation led her to dive into her family's history at the Tulsa Race Massacre.
I didn't know much about it because during the time of my childhood, I was always told never ask your father about your grandfather.
After talking with her 104-year-old aunt a few years ago,
she was a little girl at the time that the race riot happened.
Davis found that her grandfather was a doctor, and during the riots, he had to go out into the streets and identify the dead.
So they tagged him with some sort of note that said he was protected by the police or some way that they were able to identify him, that he was a tagged medical person.
For the past few decades, Davis has been putting the pieces of this tragedy together, despite the hesitancy from her family to dredge up old memories.
So they didn't really talk about it because it was an embarrassment. Because also when you talk about something, you relive it. It's traumatic.
ASU professor Rashad Shabazz said the leaders in Tulsa, along with trauma and threats from other citizens, effectively buried this piece of history.
Destroyed evidence. They didn't do a lot of reporting. It was evacuated in large part from public memory.
Shabazz said he hopes that President Biden's acknowledgement of this dark time in our past opens up conversations.
I would like to see him stand on the side of reparations for the people of Tulsa. And I would really like him to open up a conversation for what reparations looks like for the descendants of slaves.
For Davis, she'll continue to put the pieces of this history together.
I hope we also say that as a nation, we shall never forget what happened to Tulsa.
According to Shabazz, information about this tragedy began to come out after the 1995 bombing in Oklahoma City. Since then, TV series like Watchmen and Lovecraft Country, as well as articles from people like Davis, have shed a light on the massacre. In the broadcast center, Tina Giuliano, Cronkite News.
Maricopa County announced today one person has already died this year due to heat-related issues. And a new study released says that more than a third of deaths due to heat are being caused by global warming. This comes from a study published in Nature Climate Change, a journal that reports on climate studies. They say that the deaths from heat are only a portion of the damages caused by global warming. They also reported that problems from floods, storms, and droughts are adding to the death toll. Unfortunately, these climate scientists are saying that the deaths will worsen exponentially over time. The study says about 1,100 people die from global warming-induced heat in the United States a year on average. The study was done by plotting data from 732 cities' mortality rates and comparing temperature changes in those areas. Moderna is applying for a full governmental approval for its COVID-19 vaccine. The company says it is submitting trial data to the Food and Drug Administration on a rolling basis over the coming weeks. Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine was first approved for emergency use authorization in December. To apply for full approval, the company needs to do a 6-month follow-up. Moderna released those findings in April, showing its vaccine had 90% efficacy after 6 months. In May, Pfizer announced it was seeking full approval from the FDA. Its clinical trials showed over 91% efficacy after 6 months.
Coming up on Cronkite News, some schools may be offering free summer programs. We'll explain what districts hope to gain with these free classes right after the break.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed. Discover new favorites from PBS and local content from your PBS station.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Here we go, lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
Some schools are wrapping up the school year this week. Others are starting summer school sessions. And attendance could be high as students try to make up for a rough school year due to the pandemic. After the concern that many students have fallen behind this year due to online learning, Governor Doug Ducey put some money into summer school programs. In April, the governor announced $26.5 million to fund Arizona schools throughout the summer. This funding allows schools across the state to teach more kids and offer more classes.
Oh boy, this summer is amazing. We are able to offer summer programming at every single school this year, which we've never been able to do before. We have about 16,000 students enrolled in some kind of summer programming across Mesa Public Schools this summer.
Because of the money allocated, many school districts like Mesa are offering tuition-free summer school. Classes are in session from roughly June to the end of July.
A robotic arm outside of the International Space Station was apparently hit by space junk. The impact punched a hole in Canadarm2. The Canadian Space Agency says it is still functioning. Teams from the Canadian agency and NASA first noticed the damage during a routine inspection on May 12th. It's unclear what hit the arm, but it could have been any type of small orbital debris, including pieces of rock, micrometeorites, dust particles, even flecks of paint that chips off satellites.
Take a look at this image. NASA says this is the so-called violent energy at the center of the galaxy, captured in a way humans have never seen. Astronomers think this center could control energy flow in the Milky Way and maybe even its evolution. The problem is fog makes it hard to see. So researchers worked on the problem for about 2 decades and decided to study it with X-rays instead of just visible light. The result is this image from NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory and the Meerkat Radio Telescope in South Africa.
I'm Emily Carmen. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report, including a preview of the Suns and Lakers. Fans, get ready. It's the pivotal Game 5 matchup at Phoenix Suns Arena.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed, discover new favorites from PBS, and local content from your PBS station.
Cronkite News provides students at ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism with the opportunity to gain real-world experience in the newsroom. At Cronkite News, our students produce professional content for audiences by taking on all roles, whether they be reporting, anchoring, producing, or studio production. Each department gives students first-hand professional newsroom experience. For more information, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Here we go. Lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. I'm Emily Carmen, and this is your Cronkite Sports Report. The Suns are home tonight for Game 5 of the playoffs after they evened the series in LA on Sunday. Last week's games brought thousands of excited fans to the Valley. Tonight, we expect to see the same. The streets of downtown Phoenix will likely be packed with people eager to experience playoff basketball. Jay Crowder, coming off of a big game, said he is looking forward to being back in the high-energy environment of the Phoenix Suns Arena.
That's what playoff is about. It's about fans being engaged at a high level of basketball and guys playing with maximum effort.
With a home court advantage and their fans in the stands, the Suns are looking for an edge over the Lakers. Tip-off is tonight at 7. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Mercury are in the Windy City tonight looking to extend their 3-game win streak as they take on the struggling Chicago Sky. The team knows, however, that they are in for a challenge, no matter who they play this season.
We know every night, regardless of who we play, no matter who's available, it's going to be a tough night. I mean, all 11 teams will face this season will be a grind.
Mercury center Brittany Griner was named Western Conference Player of the Week. This after she put up 27 points and 11 rebounds against the Las Vegas Aces. This is her 9th time receiving the award. The ASU men's golf team is going after their 3rd national championship at Grayhawk Golf Club in Scottsdale. They defeated North Carolina in the quarterfinals this morning and are facing Oklahoma this afternoon. The Sun Devils are led by Riggs Johnston, who placed 3rd in the individual rankings yesterday, finishing 5 under par. ASU golfers Cameron Sisk and Chun An Yu also finished in the top 15 to help lead the team to clinch the #1 seed going into match play. This is in part thanks to a rough round for Oklahoma State. ASU had started today in 3rd place behind Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. They also finished with the 2nd best score of the day, finishing behind Pepperdine. While the men compete for a title this week, the ASU women's team fell short in their bid for a national championship. They got knocked out in the quarterfinals last week. The team also said goodbye to one of their best. I had a chance to talk to this legendary Sun Devil about her ASU career and what's in store for her next. Olivia Mahaffey has played her last round as a Sun Devil. The ASU golfer competed in her final championship tournament, which ASU hosted at Greyhawk Golf Club.
Getting the opportunity to play my last amateur event and last ASU event and hosting is very special to me. How lucky am I that I get to play my last amateur tournament in my home away from home.
Mahaffey helped guide her team to the quarterfinals by calling upon past tournament experience. She is one of just 2 golfers on the team who has competed in the tournament before.
It's nice, having that experience and, I've told the girls stories, what it's like, how it's been, and, I think that definitely helps the team.
As a freshman, Mahaffey was a member of ASU's 8th championship team. This season marked her 4th consecutive run at the title. The senior returned for her 5th year to chase a championship after last season was canceled.
Her experience and her leadership is amazing, and we're so fortunate to get to have her back again and let her go out on her terms.
According to head coach Missy Farquet, Mahaffey's career at ASU is one for the history books. The golfer was a 4-time All-American while at ASU, only the 3rd Sun Devil in program history to achieve this feat.
Olivia Mahaffey is a very special young lady, and she's a very special Sun Devil, and my guess is a future Hall of Famer.
The women's team has won an unprecedented 8 national titles. This year, they finished 5th. That's all today for our Cronkite Sports Report. Let's send it back to Peyton and Sinead.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Break It Down is next.